Hello, and welcome to the Dementia Dish. My name is Danielle Farrell, one of the public education coordinators at the Alzheimer Society of Peel. And today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about adaptive clothing. Adaptive clothing can be so important for people who have mobility issues, to help people living with dementia to remain more independent, and to assist care partners that may be the aid or the helper in somebody attempting to get dressed. So there are some things to consider when you are looking at adaptive clothing. One of them is the type of closure that is used. So things that have snaps, Velcro, magnets are much easier for people living with dementia and their care partners to utilize. You can get now, as there's been great advances in adaptive clothing, you can now get Velcro closures on things like dress shirts, but there's still buttons on the outside. You can now get dress shoes that have Velcro closures. You can get casual or dress shirts that have a magnet or a snap button behind what looks like regular buttons, so that style and fashion are still there, but the clothing is much easier to take on and off. You can add loops to pants. This can be very helpful for pulling pants on and off, and you can buy products garments that already have these loops within them. And when a person might be in a wheelchair, there are some other considerations to think of, like clothes that have a longer neck to waist ratio, looking for pants that are longer than you would normally wear, because when you're sitting in a wheelchair, your pant leg will rise up a bit. So you want to have a little bit longer of a pant leg than you would wear when standing. You want to look for pants or trousers that are loose in the hips and thighs to make that much more comfortable from a seated position. You're looking for loose fitting tops, skirts, or jackets, because this enables the wheelchair user to move their arms more freely and to be able to move their wheelchair with a lot less difficulty. One of the things to consider for colder weather or rainy weather is the poncho. And the poncho, which you can also get fleece lined for very cold weather, is easy to put on and does not restrict mobility and can be very helpful in inclement weather. So that's something to consider. So some examples of adaptive clothing are zippers on the side, Velcro flaps that help to have easy access, especially if the person is sitting in a wheelchair, skirts that have snaps instead of ties, and belts, that sort of thing. Shirts that do up at the back or fasten at the back can be very helpful. And of course, again, there's many Velcroed type of shoes for all different weather and styles that can be very helpful for a person to put on and off. When shopping for clothing, some things you might want to consider is that people living with dementia often have some sensory changes, and they can become irritated by certain tactile stimulation. And so you may want to get clothing that does not have a tag on it, and where the label is actually flat, as like the t-shirt shown in the picture. So we want to look for natural fibers, things like cotton or cotton blends, things that allow the skin to breathe and are soft. Things that have less seams will be preferable because, again, of that tactile stimulation. Sometimes the seams can irritate a person living with dementia. You may want to avoid tight belts or fitted waistbands, as that can be uncomfortable for the person living with dementia or the person who may be in a wheelchair. There are something called dignity suits, and dignity suits are anti-strip suits. And the purpose of a dignity suit is to prevent undressing in public. The dignity suits work because there are snaps and zippers at both the neckline and at the crotch. And this particular design makes it difficult for anyone to take a garment off without the assistance of somebody else, which will help to maintain the person's dignity from taking off clothing in public spaces. There are also some helpful dressing aids. So it can be very helpful to use a long shoehorn. These long shoehorns can be used by a care partner to assist somebody putting on a pair of shoes, or they can be used by an individual themselves to assist in putting on shoes, keeping them more independent. There are something called dressing sticks. These are sticks with a grab at the end that can be used to help pull up articles of clothing. They can be very helpful for people with mobility issues, people with balance issues, and they can also be used by care partners to assist somebody to pull up clothing when a person is in a seated position. There are also something called zipper pulls, and zipper pulls are longer devices that you can attach to zippers in order to help pull them up, as opposed to little wee tab that can be difficult for persons who have mobility difficulties, balance issues, that sort of thing. The zipper pulls can also be added to belt loops, making it easier to pull pants up or to pull pants down. Some of the places where some of the adaptive clothing can be found are listed here. We have listed Canadian resources because we are a Canadian organization, and these are places that serve Canada. If you're outside of that area and you're looking for adaptive clothing, by all means, please just Google search adaptive clothing, and lots of resources will now come up, as there's lots of places that now offer adaptive clothing. Thank you for joining us for our dementia dish. If you'd like to follow us, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we are on YouTube. So please feel free to subscribe and to join us. And I hope that you will join us again for our next dementia dish. And I hope that this was helpful and you will find adaptive clothing to be something that you can utilize.